How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. With stage 1 of the 2019 Overwatch League season now being over, I thought I'd give out some awards to the players and to the teams who have gone above and beyond how they performed so far. In this video, I'll be giving an award out for MVP, Rookie of the Stage, Most Improved Team, and Most Improved Player. The two major categories that I went by for all of these selections were both stats and overall performance in game. And that's pretty much all there is to the video, so I suppose I'll start off with MVP, and let me just start off by saying this was not an easy choice. So many players from a bunch of different teams all seemed like they deserved it. I could go with pretty much anybody from the Vancouver Titans. There's also Sinatra, Super, and Violet from the San Francisco Shock, or maybe I could even go with Jonek or Nene from the NYXL. After doing some very careful and thorough analysis, I decided to go with Salman Su from the Vancouver Titans. From a statistical standpoint, he was arguably the best Zarya in the league. The only Zarya player with 2 or more hours of stage time who had more damage per 10 minutes than him was Sinatra, but boasting the second highest damage per 10 minutes in the league for players with at least 2 hours of playtime is still really impressive. And even though Sinatra has more damage, Salman Su still has the better overall stat line. He beat Sinatra both in eliminations and in deaths per 10 minutes. I know that teamwork is really important, so individual things aren't quite as significant, but doing some of the individual things like positioning, for an example, also play a factor, and Salman Su has done a really good job with that. Having the least amount of deaths in the league on Zarya per 10 minutes just proves how smart he's been. However, I've never been one to just solely rely on stats to decide how good a player is, because I believe that how a player performs on stage is also critical, and Salman Su has excelled there as well. He's consistently made some big plays when his team needed him to, and he's even had plenty of big grabs that often led to his team winning fights, or at least putting themselves in a good position to win them. This man has shown that he is more than capable of being clutch. I really don't think I have to remind any of you of that game during week 2, when the Guangzhou Charge pushed the Titans to a 5th map, and were just 26% more capture progress away from putting a blemish on their undefeated record. And just when it seemed like hope may have been lost for his team, Salman Su landed a massive Graviton Surge to give Slime and Janu an opportunity to execute a huge Diva Bomb, which would eventually go on to win the map and the series. These were the types of plays that Salman Su was setting up all stage long, so it should really come as no surprise that he's one of the best Zaryas and overall players in the league right now. This award is really debatable though, since there's so many choices, and I encourage you to let me know who your stage 1 MVP is down in the comments section. Since Salman Su is my MVP, it also makes sense to give him Rookie of the Year. But how about we go over some of the other rookies who deserve this award as well? There were boatloads of first-year players who showed off how dominant they could really be. Salman Su's teammate Bumper had quite the showing this stage as well. Even though he was dying over 6 times per 10 minutes, he still managed to put over 8,000 damage down per 10 minutes, which is second best among all main tanks in the league. And don't even get me started with the legendary Earth Shatters this guy was pulling off. I've never seen a pro go for so many aggressive and sneaky shatter angles in my entire life. Another Vancouver Titans player that deserves some recognition is Janu. Not only has his ability to eat grabs and make big Diva Bombs been more than exceptional, but the man very rarely dies. Only 2.70 deaths per 10 minutes is an absolutely ludicrous stat. The only other Diva player in the league with at least 2 hours of playtime who even comes close to that is Michelle. I kind of feel like Janu's been flying under the radar for some people. He's making a serious case for best Diva player in the league right now, and that should not be ignored. That's enough about the Titans though. There were some other rookies in the league who've looked really strong throughout stage 1, and one of the first players who comes to mind for me is Violet. If you want to watch a Zen player other than Jonek frag out, then this is your guy. There aren't many people who match up to Jonek's mechanical skill on Zen, and Violet just so happens to be one of those people. Not only does he get a lot of picks, but he also charges up Trance at a pretty fast rate, and his damage per 10 minutes backs that up. He's the only Zen player in the league to average at least 9,000 damage. He outdamages the Season 1 MVP Jonek by 300. It's also worth noting that his healing rate of over 11,000 is the best in the league, which means he isn't just charging his ult up fast, he's also getting efficient uses out of all of his Transcendences. These stats are absolutely incredible. It would seem there are other players out there who aren't named Jonek who can consistently play at this high of a level on Zen. Nene from the NYXL and Izayaki from the LA Valiant are the other two rookies who have caught my eye so far. Nene looks like a slightly worse version of Salman Su on Zarya, and Izayaki looked pretty good on Zen. He died quite a bit more than Violet, but still managed to do over 8,000 damage every 10 minutes. Now let's talk Most Improved Team, and this one should be pretty obvious. There's really only 2 teams that have improved leaps and bounds when compared to stage 4 of last year. The Shanghai Dragons and San Francisco Shock have shown the most improvement by far. Starting with the Dragons, they went from a complete joke who couldn't even win a game to a pretty competitive team that only finished 1 game below 500 after the first stage of the season. Going on your first win streak in franchise history and defeating last year's champions, who were still fighting for a playoff spot by the way, when you yourselves were already eliminated, is a really good look. Then there's the San Francisco Shock. This team spent a good amount of last year just building for the future, and now it's starting to look like it was pretty worth it. Not only did they make the stage playoffs for the first time, but they did so with one of the hardest schedules in the league. Even though they only finished in 6th place, they were still considered by most to be one of the best teams in the league. And to add on to all of that, Sinatra, Super, Moth, and Violet all looked like top 5 players at their respective positions. I tip my imaginary hat to the Shock. This stage marked the beginning of what looks to be an amazing turnaround. Picking between the Dragons and Shock wasn't easy at first, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that the Shock deserved to win this award more. Sure, the Dragons improved, but just winning games isn't all that impressive. The Shock weren't just winning their games. They were competing with and defeating some of the best teams in the league, both during the regular season and in the stage playoffs, where there's even more pressure. A stage finals appearance where you were just a team fight or two away from beating the best team in the league just adds on to the reasons why the Shock have shown more improvement. And finally, we have the Most Improved Player Award. There's a handful of players that have shown much improvement since Season 1, but there's one player in particular that deserved this more than the others to me, and that person is AKM. He was never a bad player for the Fuel last year, but he certainly could have been better. Let's not forget about the whole AKM blade thing that happened. The man literally became a meme because of how bad his Genji was. I think most people just saw AKM as a decent hit scan player who could really only turn heads with his Soldier 76. That all seemed to change once Stage 1 rolled around though. At first, Effect was the one playing Zarya for the Fuel, but when it was clear that he wasn't quite good enough, AKM stepped up to the challenge and he became the reliable Zarya that this team so desperately needed. He did over 10,000 damage per 10 minutes during Stage 1, while helping his team finish a stage with a positive record for only the second time in franchise history. Even though it wasn't enough to lead his team to the playoffs, AKM came in clutch more than once for his team. The crazy 3K he got on Widow against the Seoul Dynasty, and him completely outplaying Carpe in the Zarya battle against the Fusion are two of the moments in particular that stand out for me. I'm really proud of AKM. He worked hard over the offseason in hopes of getting people to take him more seriously, and he succeeded. And with that being said, that's pretty much it. Those are my Stage 1 awards. If you enjoyed this content, then be sure to hit that like button and subscribe, and I'm sure a bunch of you guys have some different opinions than I do, so feel free to leave your own Stage 1 awards down in the comment section. Thank you all so much for watching today's video, and until next time, this is ATP, signing out. Peace.